Season 4 of Diablo 4 has brought with it some new additions to the endgame boss ladder. This means you're going to need a lot of boss summoning materials, and that's what we're going to go over in this video. The absolute best ways to go about farming all of the boss summoning mats you're going to need for the whole season. But first I want to quickly go over these new additions, starting with the new introduction of Duriel, another level 100 boss, and she shares the exact same drop table as Duriel, so she also has a higher chance to give you uber uniques. And to summon her, it works in the exact same way. You have to go kill the beast in the ice and Lord Zir 2 times to get her boss summoning materials to go face her. But then we also have the introduction of Tormented bosses, which are level 200 versions of all of the boss ladder bosses. All of these bosses are going to be very difficult. They're going to be only for pretty endgame builds, and to summon these bosses you're going to need 3 times the normal boss summoning materials and some stygian stones, which is a new material added in, primarily obtained from the new pit activity. But if you defeat that boss, you'll actually get 5 times the normal loot. So if your build is strong enough, the tormented bosses are going to be the things you're going to want to be farming to be the most efficient. But obviously that's going to take a lot of materials. That's where the rest of this video comes in. Now the overarching theme of this video is to go do hell tides. You're going to get the most boss summoning materials by farming hell tides, but there's a bunch of different things you could do to get a lot more boss summoning materials, and there's even going to be some additional ways to massively increase that for new characters. So while running hell tides, there is a ton of different ways to get all of the different boss summoning materials. Now starting off, make sure as soon as you possibly can to always be running the profane mind cage. That's the new elixir with this season that buffs up the enemy levels in hell tides, but gives you more cinder drops and more threat generation. This is just going to allow you to get more of a lot of these boss summoning materials for your time farming. Also make sure to have a potion on at all times if you're leveling a character. If you're already level 100, I'd recommend just using any potion that makes you stronger so you can kill things quicker, get more materials. Now pretty much everything you're doing in hell tides has a chance to give you different boss summoning materials, starting off being just killing elites. Any elite within season 4 and going into the future of Diablo 4 just has a chance to explode with a bunch of random loot, whether it be a bunch of random crafting materials or boss summoning materials. So any elite you kill just has a chance to drop you any of those base boss materials, and they also have chances to drop more than one. I think the most I've seen from one elite is 2, but one of the reasons why this is so important in hell tides is because hell tides has the highest density and most consistency of being able to kill tons of elites, because pretty much everything in hell tides now is just spamming elites at you. You have the hell worms that randomly pop up. Those in world tier 3 and 4 will summon like sometimes close to a dozen different elites, some of them being the harbingers. You have all the different hell spires that you sit in a circle and it constantly summons enemies on you. It'll summon waves of elites when that's going on, and then at the end it summons a big group of elites at the end. Pretty much all those small little interactable objects all throughout the hell tides now will also spawn you elites, so killing the totems, interrupting the summoning circles, and then even interacting with the doomsayers, all of that's going to be spawning elites. Then you have your threat meter that's building. When your threat meter is full, it spawns bunches of waves of elites on you, and then you'll also get the hellborn summon at the end, which can also drop you boss summoning materials. So pretty much everything you're doing in a hell tide is just throwing mountains of elites at you. Every single one has a chance to drop boss summoning materials. And then you also have the harbingers, and the harbingers are those little skull symbols on the map. They're basically just slightly bigger and maybe slightly more powerful elites. It does seem like those harbingers have a slightly higher chance to give you boss summoning materials, just from my experience, and a good chunk of the elites you're killing in hell tides are going to be all of those harbingers. So it does seem like just being in hell tides and killing those has a bit of a higher chance than killing elites anywhere else in the game. And then like mentioned, you also have the doomsayers, which are the NPCs sitting in the middle of a summoning circle you can interact with. They pretty much always die when you interact with them. They will either spew out a bunch of loot, summon an elite, or it'll summon a loot goblin. It actually has a pretty decent chance to summon a loot goblin, and loot goblins now will always drop you at least one boss summoning material. They can drop more, and that will just be for any random boss, so that's another way to get more materials. And then you have the Blood Maiden, the new Helltide boss, which you use the new Baneful Heart material to spawn. That just spawns tons of waves of enemies. We'll also be randomly summoning elites, and then other players coming in to help with that boss will also be building up their threat. So other players will also just randomly start to summon elites. Then when you kill the Blood Maiden, she pretty much has a guaranteed chance to drop at least one boss summoning material. Now this seems to only be in World Tier 3 and 4, specifically for the Blood Maiden. It seems to either be a lower chance in lower world tiers, or she just won't drop boss summoning materials in those lower world tiers. So go in World Tier 3 or 4 if you're going to be farming the Blood Maiden. And then you also have your Whispers in your Tree of Whispers, so you complete those, then you go turn those in, and the boxes you open from the Tree of Whispers will always give you some boss summoning materials. Usually they're for Varshan, but I think sometimes you can get materials for other bosses. And then while you're doing all of this, you're going to be getting Cinders. Now you use Cinders to open the Helltide caches that will always give you at least one living steel. I think there may be a low chance to get other boss summoning materials, but I'm not certain on that. And then if you go open the living steel chest, those will always give you at least 5 living steels. So collecting all those cinder drops while doing all of these other activities will also just be giving you a ton more boss materials. So everything you're doing in Helltide either has a chance to give you boss summoning materials or is guaranteed to give you them. But that's not all. You also have a chance to get a lot more boss summoning materials, specifically through the Iron Wolf reputation. Now, this is something that can only be done once on every character, but with the Iron Wolf reputation, the rank 12 reward will give you a big chunk of boss materials. These are all the base boss materials. Then at rank 17, you'll get a ton of boss summoning materials, and rank 17 will include Andariel and Duriel mats. Those are the mats that you have to go defeat other bosses to get to then summon Andariel and Duriel. And those mats are actually much more valuable because let's say you want to go kill Duriel, you have to go defeat Grigor twice, so that's 10 living steel to get 1 summon of Duriel, and you have to go defeat Varshan twice, that's going to be 8 total boss summoning materials to get his 2 eggs, and you're going to need the materials both from Varshan and Grigor to summon Duriel. So getting Duriel and Andariel mats specifically is actually giving you a large chunk of boss materials. You're also going to be getting Stygian stones from rank 17, which as mentioned are going to be used to summon the tormented version of these bosses. So Stygian stones are very important. They're also very rare to get from the pit, so getting them from anywhere else is incredibly good. Then at rank 18, you get a big chunk of Stygian stones again. So just leveling up the Iron Wolf reputation on any new character and getting it to max rank will give you an absurd amount of additional boss summoning materials and the Stygian stones to go do the tormented bosses. So if you want to, you can continue to level up new characters, and this will actually give you more boss summoning materials over time than just playing your level 100 character. Specifically getting through all of the Iron Wolf ranks on a new character, that'll get you to pretty high level just from farming Helltides, and that will give you an absurd amount of overall boss summoning materials, which will allow you to go face any of these boss ladder bosses, including the tormented versions, because you're getting a bunch of Stygian stones. So if you're keeping track, farming Helltides on any new characters, killing the elites, killing the Blood Maidens, opening chests, and leveling up your Iron Wolf reputation will give you access to literally every boss summoning material in the game, including the Andariel and Duriel mats, and including Stygian stones. This is a one-stop shop to get every boss summoning material in the game, and it's one of the best ways to level, and you're going to be getting a ridiculous amount of gear from farming these Helltides as well. So you're going to be gearing up, getting all the boss summoning materials you need to go defeat those bosses, to get all the uniques you need, basically a one-stop shop to fully gear up any character. So if you're looking for any boss summoning materials, there is no better place than going and farming Helltides, and I think it's actually going to be better to level up a new character while doing this to again get those Iron Wolf reputation rewards to get just more and more boss summoning materials. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.